Welcome to the Ditch the Struggle podcast. I'm your host, Alana Rosso. I'm a graphic designer turned career and success coach who knew I could do better, but kept falling short of where I wanted to go. But after years of exploring personal and career development, business, money mindset, and energy work, I'm here to tell you that yes, you can move from stuck and defeated to empowered and confident. Ready to dive in? Awesome. Together, let's ditch the struggle. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm going to dive into some career stuff today, and this is an episode for you if you are looking for a career or a job or some kind of work. I'm going to use those words interchangeably, and you don't know what you want. You are like, I don't like what I'm doing, but I don't know what I want, and I don't know what to aim for because I don't even know what that is. So it's not like I can sit there and write out what I want or look on LinkedIn because I don't know what that thing is. It just feels elusive. So this is an exercise that I'm going to suggest you try that I have personally done many times, and I still do it when I'm trying to figure things out or to pull something into my life. You can call it manifesting. You can put it under that category. I'm not going to say I'm a manifesting expert, but I'm absolutely a believer in setting an intention and writing out what I want. Pen to paper. So I highly suggest you use a pen and paper for this. You can do it on your computer if you want, but I just find there's something magical that happens when we write things down. And I'm going to give you ways to try and pull in the work or career that you're looking for without the specifics, which won't make sense to a lot of people, but it does make sense. It makes a lot of sense because you can know certain things about what you're looking for, and you do know certain things. You may not know what exactly you want, but there's certain characteristics that you do know, and I'm going to help pull those out. Because what happens is when we sit down and write down a little bit more about what we want, even if we're not 100% there, I guarantee you things are going to pop up in your life that will point you in the right direction, or you'll suddenly be on LinkedIn and a job will pop up that you never would have thought about or considered. You're just going to see it differently. You're going to overhear someone talk about something that's interesting. A friend will call you with a potential lead on a job that you never would have considered. Something will happen because this is just the way the universe works. If you get a little bit more clarity, then you will get closer to what you're looking for. Again, even if you don't know what that thing is. And I will tell you, I have often not known what I wanted, but I didn't want what I was in. But there were things that I did know. Like, for example, I always knew I wanted something where there was some creativity and some collaboration. However, I also like to have times where I'm completely on my own and not collaborating. So I'm going to give you a bunch of questions that you can ask yourself to kind of get this, what are we going to call it, job manifestation going, whatever you want to call it, clarity, just job clarity, career clarity going. You just don't know what you don't know. And I think what trips up a lot of people when they're job searching, career searching, is that they get fixated on a job title. So they're like, okay, well, I want to be a digital marketing manager. I want to be an elementary school teacher. I need to be a senior level executive assistant. And so you sit there on LinkedIn and you're like, I don't know what words to put in because I don't know what I want. So how do I find a job? And so this is a way for you to let go of what that job title could be because, again, you don't know what you don't know. And there's been so many times I've landed jobs in my life and I was like, I didn't know this job existed. I've told this story before, but bears repeating. When I got the art director job at Harlequin Books way back when, I got that through a design agency or a placement agency called Creative Niche. They still exist. And I remember I was having a conversation with Deborah who worked there. And she's like, oh, I have this interesting job. It's called a creative art editor, and it's at Harlequin Books. As soon as she said it, I knew the job was for me. I just felt in my bones that this was like a yes. So my intuition was definitely saying yes. But what was crazy is that I had no idea what a creative art editor is, and I've never heard that job title since, and it got changed to art director, which made way more sense. They changed the work hierarchy, so it was a bit more like an agency. But I knew I wanted the job, but how could I have, searched for a creative art editor job when I had never heard the job title? It was very strange. And I just didn't know anyone who did that. So I didn't know this job existed. So how could I go for something that I didn't know existed, right? And that can happen now. We just get tripped up. And I will say there is this trend still going with jobs to have the weirdest job titles. And they're getting very creative, which makes it really hard on LinkedIn or any of the job boards to kind of search because you're like, what the hell is this? I've never heard of this job before. It's like superstar, magnetic, energy supplier lead. What? These crazy jobs. So I get it. But you can definitely pull into your orbit a little bit more of what you're looking for with some more general ideas of what you want, because there are some key things. And here's a way that I do that. I get the pen and paper out and I start this way, and I'll give you some options if you don't like it. This is definitely, I think, from The Secret. I'm so happy and grateful now that. And I start describing a day in the life of work that I want to do. And again, you're probably going, but I don't know what I want to do. It does not matter. And I'm going to explain to you with an example why it doesn't matter. So you can just write down, my new job is, or my new career looks like. One of the ways you might get inspiration for this is by looking up the perfect day exercise, which a lot of coaches use, which is you really describe a perfect day in your life, like what that would look like. So that's a big picture thing. That might be too overwhelming. I'm breaking this down more to just a day at work or a day in your career. And so I would write, I'm so happy and grateful now that I have a creative role that I'm engaged in and I'm feeling great in. It is energizing. So for me, I have to have a job that is energizing, not draining. And start describing pieces of what would feel great in a job. Are you in a creative role? What kind of people do you work with? What is the pay like? And just a tip for if you're writing down any pay goals, always put a plus sign after. So it's I want to make $100,000 plus so that you're open to more. You don't want to cap yourself at that. Are you commuting? Is it close to home? Do you walk? Are you regularly in front of people, or are you kind of in more isolated role? Is it quiet? Is it loud? Is it fun? Is it serious? Is it really corporate? So you want to describe what you could be doing in a job without actually knowing what the job is. So it's I'm doing a job where there's a lot of responsibility. I'm feeling very valued for my work. The hours are from 9 to 5. I get to go home and make sure that I get to spend time with my family. I feel empowered at the end of every day. I would say the most important thing about when you're writing out your goals or what you want to envision for your career is how do you feel at the end of the day? Because that's what you want to pull into your orbit. It's how you feel. You want to feel fulfilled. You want to feel valued. Do you want to feel excited? Do you want to feel good about the work you did? Do you want to feel respected? You don't have to know that you're, again, that digital marketing specialist to know that you want certain things in your job and your career. And I know you're probably thinking, well, this isn't going to help me when I'm applying to jobs. I'm telling you that when you start getting a bit more clarity of what you're looking for, again, those things will start pulling themselves into your orbit. Those jobs will come your way. Somehow you'll see a job posting you didn't think about. You want to describe as much about how you want to operate and feel and work in a day without actually describing a job. So this is not a job listing that you're going to find in LinkedIn. We're not talking necessarily about the exact responsibilities that you're doing. And actually, that reminds me, when you're doing a resume, one of the big mistakes that people make is they talk about all the responsibilities as opposed to their accomplishments. That's a game changer. If you can just move from responsibilities, yes, you can put a bit in, to what your accomplishments are, you're going to have a huge advantage. Your resume is going to be 1 billion times better. So think of that when you're doing writing out what you want in your career or job. What are some of the accomplishments that you've done? What are some of the milestones? Maybe the fact that you're doing speeches and presentations in front of large crowds. If that makes you feel ill, don't put it in. This is about really getting honest with what you want, what you might want to do. Are you in a foreign country? Are you in your own country? Are you traveling a lot? Are you not traveling? You can start describing what you want to do based on the lifestyle. So that's a really great place to even just start is what kind of lifestyle do you want? I saw someone post on Instagram how they wished when they were, starting their career, they had thought more about the lifestyle that they want. And I was like, oh, damn, that's good. Because I didn't think about that. I never thought, well, being a graphic designer means I'm going to be in front of a screen for, 10, 12, 16 hours a day. I'm going to be curled into a pretzel. I'm going to be tapped out. I didn't think about the lifestyle, like that you're kind of glued to a monitor and there's very high pressure, high expectations. Now, would I have done it differently if I knew that? No, because I was really just so on that path and I had done so many years of training. I don't think I would have deviated. And there was a time when I really enjoyed it. So, but the lifestyle piece is huge. It's like, what does that day look like for you? Start describing it any way that you can. Just describe what the day would look like, the type of people you're interacting with, Are they nice? Are they generous? Are they excited? Are they fun? If you've had a really bad job, that's great because that's the gift of contrast. I don't want to work with these not nice people. I want to work with people who are generous, or I want to work with people that are just not as serious, So you can just get in there with your pen and paper and start describing what potentially your day at the job or in the career could look like without knowing exactly what it is. If you are someone who likes to have high-level conversations, you want it to have some academic quality, all of these things you can start writing about. And you just write it down, free flow. You can put it in bullet points if you want. There's no rules. But start writing it down, and again, it's the honesty piece. It's like if you truly want a job that you can just, clock in, clock out and not worry about it at the end of the day, that's okay. If you want a job with less stress and less pressure right now, that is also okay. Although society and everyone around you will tell you need to keep doing more and more and more, you are not a weaker person because you want to have less pressure right now, depending on what season you are in your life or what your bandwidth is. I always talk about bandwidth. So think about that as you're writing out what you want. You might just want an easier job or a simpler job, a smaller company. What's the company culture like? See how many things you can describe about a career or job without actually knowing what that is. I have done so many different things in my career, but I never knew exactly what I was going for at the time. But I did work on, first of all, I worked on myself to make sure that I was getting rid of some of the junk and the garbage in my mind, body, and spirit, so that I would attract better things. I worked a lot on self-worth so that I could ask for what I wanted and move into companies that valued me both with paychecks and appreciation. Although I will say I'm not someone who lives for praise. It's I have friends who are like that. They will value someone patting them on the shoulder and saying good job above pretty well everything else. It's not as high up on my list. I want to feel valued, yes, but it's not top of the game for me. And so that's something to know about yourself. It's it is important to you, you need to be moving somewhere or working somewhere where they are going to give you that feedback, consistently. And then again, back to how are you going to feel when you're in this job? You can imagine, I always like an expansive workplace. I talk about this a lot too. I want an expansive workplace versus contractive, right? So I am a Cancerian, so how I feel is really important, and my emotions, guide a lot of things, and they guide me well if I listen to them. But it's how are you going to feel during the day, at the end of the day, even check-in points in the morning when you're getting to the job? Are you having to rush to get there, or do you want to be able to take your time because the job doesn't start at 10, or you get to have lazy mornings or slow mornings? There's so many things, and you're I can just hear probably some protests being but this job doesn't exist. Okay, we don't know that. Again, we don't know what we don't know. And we have no idea how all of these little elements that you're writing down and thinking about and getting really clear on could form themselves into a job or a career, could manifest into something that somehow all these pieces can come together. It is wild how weird skill sets I have had or have honed over the years have merged into some of the work I do now. The coaching, definitely, even the graphic design clients I do have, I'm using very interesting skill sets that I couldn't have thought about, but I knew I wanted to work remotely since 2021. That was non-negotiable. So if you're totally stuck, just start there. Is it remote, hybrid, on-site? Be honest. If you don't want to work on-site, this is like kind of your wish list. You get to just put it down. I'm not saying that everything's going to come true, but think about it. You know how on LinkedIn you see a job posting, and I think this is also very helpful. These are wish lists from the employers, the company. They are not going to get everything on it. So don't take yourself out of the running when you see you only have 60% of the qualifications. You just apply anyway. But when you're writing down what you're looking for your job, career, also think of it like a LinkedIn job wish list. You're just putting everything down. Like, this is the dream. May not get it all, but doesn't matter. If you got 80%, wouldn't that be amazing? Think about the lifestyle. Think about the type of people you're working with. Think about all the pieces, anything you can possibly think about without the actual job title. Think about what you're wearing. This is huge for me. It's like, if you told me I had to put on dress pants and a blouse now, well, I wouldn't do it. I'd be like my dog Dolly and just sit there and be like, no, not happening. I just don't feel like doing that at this point in my life. Right now I'm literally in my Old Navy sweatshirt and some leggings, and I'm living my best life. This is great. I'm loving this. And this is a piece of fulfillment for me doing the podcast. So think about what's going to fulfill you with your work that you're doing, your career. How are you communicating with others? Are you leading teams? Are you not leading teams? I'm just throwing all these ideas out there. This is a bit of a brain dump in terms of just how you can think about what you want. It doesn't have to be about the job title or the career path. First, just start to see what kind of lifestyle you want, how you want to show up, how you want to feel, and put in as many details as you possibly can. Maybe you want to work 4 days a week. Yeah, write it down. Let's go for that. There's a lot of companies moving to 4 days a week, and then there's a lot of stupid companies that are making people be on site 5 days a week. That just makes no sense to me now. But anyway, I'm hearing a lot of that from different people looking for jobs. So I hope this gives you some ideas as to how you can just start brainstorming. Doesn't have to be a formal thing. But I will say that when I sit down and do this, I like to get really quiet with it and just take a good at least 20 minutes, half an hour to do this with no distractions. Every time I have done this, stuff comes my way. It's sometimes not for a couple months or sometimes even 6 months. I remember like 6 months after doing this kind of exercise, like pretty well everything on one of my checklists happened, but in a way I could not have imagined. Like for me, a lot of times jobs or opportunities come to me, I will just get a text from someone who randomly thinks about me for something. Now, do I think I would be on their radar if I wasn't somehow getting clear on what I wanted? I feel like no. I feel like I need to put that out there to pull it in. And if this is getting too woo-woo for any of you, well, I don't know, bon chance, because the job world is hard. And I say pull in all the resources from the universe that you possibly can. And again, I will just say from personal experience that I have been doing this for probably 20 years. Trying to get as clear as I can without actually knowing exactly what I want. And while that doesn't seem to make any sense, it totally makes sense. So describe your perfect day at work as best you can, pull in as many elements, like think about what you're wearing, where you're going, how you're commuting, how you feel, and sit with it. It doesn't have to give you an answer tomorrow, today, next week. But you are taking steps to gain some kind of clarity. And this is what most people don't do. They don't actually sit down and take some time to think about what they want without putting too much pressure on yourself to figure it all out. You are just putting down some bullet points. You're just thinking about what it could be, thinking about some things you might want to experience in your career, thinking about how you might want to show up, what that experience could look like. That's all you're doing. But there is magic to this. And most coaches will ask you to do something like this anyway, or they're going to be having conversations about this. So this is free. You can just sit down and do it. I'm sure there's some great prompts you can do online, but I just simply start out with, I am so happy and grateful now that, and I start describing what I'm looking for in a job, a career, a client, whatever it is, and I let it roll. No judgment. Be truthful. No one has to see it. You can hide it. You don't have to share it with anybody. In fact, I say don't share it unless you really feel that you can with someone and they're not going to, come back with their own version of what it should look like. Sit with it, see what happens. And I would love to know what happens. If any magic happens, I'd love to hear those stories. Take care, guys. Thank you for joining me today on Ditch the Struggle. You showing up here means so, so much to me. To dig deeper into the topics discussed today and to learn about my work, visit alanarosa.com. And don't forget to download your free resources while you're there. And if this episode resonated with you, please share with others who also want to ditch the struggle. Go ahead and subscribe to the podcast, leave a rating and a review, and let me know what you'd like to see more of on this podcast. And before I go, I want to leave you with my 3 favorite ways to ditch the struggle. Be your own best advocate, take baby steps for the win, and forget about a linear career path. It's overrated and you are doing just fine. See you next time.